It is happening right now in the middle of a World Cup night, and Arsenal supporters are feeling two things at once: relief and disbelief. Spain are level at 0-0 against Portugal. The clock is deep into stoppage time. Cristiano Ronaldo is still on the pitch, still dangerous, still capable of sending Portugal through with one moment of magic. Then Merino, who came off the bench, latches onto a perfectly weighted through ball. He does not panic. He does not rush the finish. He rolls it coolly into the bottom corner. Spain go through. Portugal go home. And an Arsenal midfielder has just delivered one of the biggest moments of this entire tournament. This is not the first time this has happened either. Gabriel Martinelli did something similar earlier in the competition, scoring a stoppage time winner against Japan. Two different Arsenal players, two different countries, two different stoppage time winners. That is not luck. That is a pattern worth paying attention to. Here is what was actually at risk in that Portugal game. If Merino misses that chance, or if it never falls to him at all, Spain are potentially heading to penalties against one of the most dangerous attacking teams left in the competition, with Ronaldo still capable of finding an equaliser at any second. Instead, Spain are safely through to the quarterfinals, where they now face Leandro Trossard's Belgium. That single moment changes the entire complexion of the tournament for Spain, and it puts Merino's name at the centre of the conversation heading into pre-season. Before I go further into what this means for Arsenal, if you want this kind of detailed, no-nonsense breakdown of every Arsenal story as it develops, hit that subscribe button now. I go through what is confirmed, what is rumour, and what it actually means for the club, without wasting your time. Let us get back into it. Merino's statement and what it signals. Let me be precise about what is confirmed here, because this story has layers, and I want to separate fact from speculation clearly for you. Confirmed fact number 1. Merino scored a stoppage time winner for Spain against Portugal, sending Spain into the World Cup quarter-finals. He came off the bench to do it. This was a player returning from an injury-hit season, and he has looked sharp throughout his time in North America this summer. For Arsenal, this is significant because it tells you the player is in form and in confidence at exactly the moment Arsenal need him fully fit for the new campaign. Confirmed fact number 2. Merino has done this kind of thing for Arsenal before, particularly when used as what I would call an auxiliary centre-forward. There is a specific pattern in Arsenal's results last season where their strongest attacking spells came with Merino playing further forward than his natural position. A 4-1 win over Tottenham. A 3-1 win over Bayern Munich. Those are not small results. Those are statement performances, and Merino was central to both of them. Now here is the part that requires more caution, because this is where opinion and fact start to blend, and I want you to know exactly which is which. In a television appearance, Merino was asked to choose between Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland. He chose Alvarez. That is a fact. Merino said it. But whether Alvarez is actually a better player than Haaland is not a fact. It is an opinion, and it is a bold one given the numbers. Let me give you the numbers as they stand right now, because context matters here. Haaland has scored 7 goals at this World Cup. That is joint top scorer alongside Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe. He also scored twice against Brazil to eliminate them in the round of 16. He is playing England next in the quarter-finals. Julian Alvarez, by comparison, has had a quiet tournament individually. No goals, no assists in 4 appearances for Argentina, who scraped past Cape Verde 3-2 in the round of 32 and are facing Egypt next. So when Merino rates Alvarez above Haaland, he is not rating him based on World Cup form. He is rating him based on what he knows from playing alongside these players in club football and international camps, on qualities that do not always show up in a stoppage time highlight reel. That is worth noting, but I want to be clear with you. This is Merino's personal opinion, not a confirmed transfer value assessment, and definitely not a certainty about who Arsenal will sign. The Alvarez situation explained. Now let us talk about what is actually real in terms of a potential transfer, because there is genuine transfer interest here, separate from Merino's television comments. Julian Alvarez wants to leave Atletico Madrid. That part is understood to be true. His preferred destination is reportedly Barcelona. Lamine Yamal, his Spain teammate through Merino's international setup, has been vocal about wanting Barcelona to sign him. But Atletico Madrid are reluctant to sell to a direct domestic rival. That reluctance is the single biggest obstacle standing between Alvarez and his preferred move. This is where it gets interesting for Arsenal. Atletico Madrid have reportedly proposed a swap deal to Arsenal, involving cash going one way, plus Victor Gyökeres moving the other way. That is a significant development reportedly on the table, but I want to stress the word reportedly, because this is not a confirmed transfer. This is a proposal, a negotiating position, not a signed agreement. What this tells me, as an analyst, is that Alvarez to Barcelona is likely to be a long, drawn-out saga throughout the summer. And that gives Arsenal a window. If Barcelona cannot get a deal over the line quickly, and Arsenal are sitting there as Premier League champions, as Champions League finalists, with the pull of London and Mikel Arteta's project behind them, There is a genuine opening to get ahead of Barcelona before anything is finalised there. But right now, today, this is rumour and speculation dressed up in real developments. Alvarez has not signed for anyone. No transfer is complete. Keep that firmly in mind. Now let me walk you through every individual update that has come through in the last 24 hours, because there is a lot happening, and I want to give you the full picture, piece by piece. Ilan Meslier, as written, Ilan Meslier to Arsenal, here we go. Medical already done and deal sealed with the former Leeds United goalkeeper. Contract also signed after medical done in London on Tuesday. Meslier said yes to the Arsenal project. My analysis? This is confirmed. This is not speculation. This is a completed transfer. Ilan Meslier has signed for Arsenal. The medical is done, the contract is signed, and the deal is sealed. For a goalkeeping department that already includes David Raya, this signals real depth being built behind the scenes, and it directly connects to what is happening with Arsenal's younger goalkeepers, which I will get to in a moment. John Terry on Odegaard. As written, John Terry has warned England to be wary of Martin Odegaard ahead of their World Cup quarter-final against Norway. Terry believes everything positive in Norway's play goes through the Arsenal captain. He insists England must stop both Odegaard and Erling Haaland to boost their chances of reaching the semi-finals. A huge showdown awaits, with Odegaard set to face several of his Arsenal teammates. My analysis. This is a confirmed statement from John Terry, not a rumour, though it is his personal assessment rather than a transfer or club fact. What stands out to me is the phrase several of his Arsenal teammates. That confirms multiple Arsenal players will be on opposing sides in this fixture, England against Norway, which tells you just how deeply this club's players are embedded at the top level of this tournament. 10 Gunners confirmed in the quarter-finals. As written, confirmed, 10 Gunners reach the World Cup quarter-finals. Norway with Odegaard against England with Rice, Eze, Saka and Madueke. Argentina against Switzerland. France with Saliba against Morocco. Spain with Zubimendi. Raya and Merino against Belgium with Trossard. My analysis. This is fully confirmed and it is remarkable. 10 Arsenal players across 4 different quarter-final fixtures. That is an enormous representation for a single club at a World Cup, and it also explains directly why Arsenal's pre-season plans are going to be affected. I will connect this to the pre-season update shortly, because it matters enormously for how Mikel Arteta starts his summer training. Ben White attracting interest from Everton. As written, Everton have Ben White on their summer shortlist. The Arsenal right-back is being considered alongside Tottenham's Djed Spence as Everton scout defensive options. White's medial knee ligament injury is clouding his transfer situation, with Arsenal aiming to have him available for pre-season. My analysis. This is reported interest, not a confirmed bid or transfer. The important detail here is the injury. A medial knee ligament issue is a real complication for any transfer talk, and Arsenal's stated aim is recovery and availability for pre-season, not a sale. So while Everton's interest is real, there is no indication Arsenal are looking to let him go right now. This one sits firmly in the speculation category until further developments emerge. Saliba's asking price. As written, Arsenal have set a £128 million asking price for William Saliba. The centre-back remains not for sale, but the Gunners would consider offers exceeding £125 million. Saliba played 50 times across all competitions last season and is under contract until 2030. My analysis. The key phrase here is not for sale. This is Arsenal setting a defensive price point, effectively telling any interested party that a deal would only even begin at a 9-figure sum. With a contract running until 2030, there is no urgency on Arsenal's side to sell. This reads as Arsenal protecting one of their most important defenders, rather than actively looking to cash in. Morgan Rogers' progress. As written, Arsenal will sign an important winger in this transfer window, it is not in doubt. The top priority remains Morgan Rogers. The agreement with the player, from my understanding, is quite close. It is something that we see as close. Aston Villa are starting at £130 million. This could eventually be negotiated. We have to see what is going to happen in the club-to-club negotiations. But Arsenal are working on Morgan Rogers as a top priority. My analysis, this confirms Rogers as Arsenal's clear #1 attacking target this summer. Personal terms progress is described as close, but club-to-club negotiation over a £130 million starting valuation is a separate and much harder conversation. Personal terms being close does not mean a transfer is close. Those are 2 very different stages of a deal, and I want you to keep that distinction in your mind for the rest of this analysis. Arsenal set to be busy. As written, Arsenal are going to be busy in the next weeks of the transfer window. It has been quiet during the World Cup for Arsenal. They tried an approach for Bruno Guimaraes. They have been working on Morgan Rogers, but it is going to be busy in the next weeks. My analysis, this tells us 2 things clearly. First, an approach was made for Bruno Guimaraes, though there is no indication this progressed into an active pursuit right now. Second, the relative quiet Arsenal supporters have experienced during the World Cup period is expected to end soon, with significant activity forecast for the coming weeks. This is a signal to manage expectations. Patience now, movement soon. Gilberto Moura interest. As written, Club Tijuana have set an £18.7 million release clause for teenager Gilberto Moura. Arsenal and Liverpool are among clubs planning to activate the buyout for the 17-year-old Mexican midfielder. Moura cannot sign for a Premier League club until he turns 18 in October, but a pre-contract deal is possible now. A young talent with serious potential who could arrive in January. My analysis. This one is important to frame correctly for you. Arsenal are not alone here. Liverpool are also mentioned as interested parties. And crucially, this is not a summer arrival story, it is a January story at the earliest, because Premier League rules require him to turn 18 first, which happens in October. This is a long-term development play, not an immediate first-team signing. The superstar pair headline. As written, Arsenal working on agreements with a superstar pair valued at a combined £246 million after a sale is agreed. My analysis, this is a teaser headline rather than a fully detailed story on its own, but based on everything else we know, this connects directly to the Morgan Rogers pursuit and the broader summer rebuild under sporting director Andrea Berta. The mention of a sale being agreed lines up with Leandro Trossard's departure being finalised, which frees up both space and funds for incoming business. Tommy Setford's loan situation. As written, Tommy Setford is expected to leave Arsenal on loan if Ilan Meslier completes his move to the club. Arsenal believe the England under-21 goalkeeper needs regular first-team football to continue his development, with Meslier's arrival set to create that opportunity. My analysis, this connects directly back to update number 1. With Meslier's signing confirmed, this makes complete sense from a squad planning perspective. Setford needs playing time to develop, and with Meslier arriving as competition or backup to Raya, there simply will not be enough minutes available for Setford at Arsenal next season. A loan move for him now looks like the logical and expected outcome. Vinicius Jr. speculation. As written, to be the very best, Arsenal need world-class players, and Vinicius Jr. is surely one of them. Any Arsenal fan would take Vinny Jr. in a heartbeat. If a player like Vinicius Jr. becomes available, surely Arsenal will have to, at the very least, consider it. My analysis, I want to be completely transparent with you here. This is fan commentary and opinion content, not a report of any actual transfer interest, contact or negotiation. There is no indication anywhere that Vinicius Jr. is available or that Arsenal have made any move toward him. I am including it because it is circulating, but I want you to treat this as pure speculation with no substance behind it at this stage. 10 players missing from pre-season. As written, Arsenal are set to begin pre-season without 10 senior players after their countries reach the 2026 World Cup quarterfinals. Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, Mikel Merino, David Raya, William Saliba, Eberechi Eze, Noni Madueke, Martin Zubimendi and Leandro Trossard remain on international duty. Even players eliminated in the quarter-finals are expected to receive at least 3 weeks rest, ruling them out of the opening phase of pre-season. Mikel Arteta will rely on the rest of his squad early on, with more first-team stars returning as the World Cup reaches its conclusion. My analysis. This is the piece that ties everything together. 10 senior players. That is closely aligned with the 10 Gunners reaching the quarter-finals I mentioned earlier. The mandatory rest period, at least 3 weeks even for those eliminated, means Arteta is looking at a genuinely early pre-season without his most important players, regardless of how far they go in the tournament from here. This is not a small inconvenience. This is a structural challenge for the start of next season, and it explains why any incoming transfer business becomes even more important, since fresh faces may need to carry more weight in those opening pre-season sessions. Morgan Rogers bid. Let me now walk you through the Morgan Rogers situation in full, because there is real depth here that deserves careful separation between fact and rumour. Confirmed. Arsenal are preparing an opening bid for Morgan Rogers. Significant progress has been made in discussions with his representatives. Arsenal believe they are now his preferred destination. Confirmed. Aston Villa have consistently stated Rodgers is not for sale and are demanding a fee comfortably in excess of £100 million even to open discussions. Here is where I want to draw a clear line for you between internal belief and external reality. Internally, Arsenal believe there is a realistic path to completing this deal if an agreement can be reached with Villa. That is Arsenal's internal confidence, not a guarantee. Villa's public stance has not changed even slightly. They still do not want to sell. There is an acceptance internally, reportedly, that a transfer could eventually happen, but only for a fee that would make Rodgers the most expensive English player in history, surpassing the £116 million Manchester City paid for Elliot Anderson. That is an extraordinary number, and it tells you exactly how difficult this negotiation is likely to be. Now the competition. Chelsea remain firm admirers, and there is a long-standing relationship between Rodgers and Chelsea's director of recruitment, Joe Shields. Manchester City have also made clear they would welcome bringing back their former academy graduate. Manchester United and Liverpool are monitoring the situation, though Arsenal are described as the current front-runners in the race. What does this mean in practical terms? Arsenal are prioritising Rodgers above both Bradley Barcola and Christos Tsolis. Interest in Julian Alvarez remains active but has been placed on the back burner while he continues to prioritise a move to Barcelona. Leandro Trossard has already agreed personal terms with Besiktas, confirming his Arsenal exit is essentially finalised on a personal level. Gabriel Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus are also both described as available for suitable offers. Mikel Arteta reportedly views Rodgers specifically as a long-term solution on the left side of the attack, not as a central number 10. That positional detail matters because it tells you exactly where Arsenal see the gap in their squad, and it aligns perfectly with Trossard's departure from that exact area of the pitch. So to summarise this story with complete clarity, confirmed Arsenal are preparing a bid and see Rodgers as their top target. Confirmed personal terms progress is positive. Not confirmed any agreement with Aston Villa on a fee. Not confirmed any actual transfer. This remains an active negotiation, not a completed deal, and Villa's public resistance has not softened at all so far. Why the timing matters. Before I close this out, I want to spend a moment on timing, because timing is the thread that runs through every single one of these stories. And it is easy to miss if you are only looking at each headline in isolation. Think about the sequence here. Arsenal have gone through a genuinely quiet period during the World Cup, at least in terms of headline signings. That quiet period was described directly as being about to end, with busy weeks flagged as coming next. At the very same time, 10 of Arsenal's senior players are still involved in international duty, all the way into the quarter-final stage. That is not a coincidence of scheduling, it is the direct result of having built one of the most internationally decorated squads in the Premier League. Now overlay the pre-season detail on top of that. Even the players who get knocked out at the quarter-final stage are guaranteed a minimum of 3 weeks of rest before returning to training. That means Arteta is not just missing 10 players for a few days, he is potentially missing his spine, his captain, his goalkeeper, his best defender, and several of his most important attacking players for a meaningful chunk of pre-season preparation. This is exactly why the business being done in the background matters so much right now. A goalkeeper signing like Meslier gives Arteta certainty in one department immediately, regardless of how deep Raya goes with Spain. Progress on Morgan Rodgers gives the club a plan for reshaping the attack, even while Trossard is still away representing Belgium. And the interest in a younger long-term profile like Gilberto Moura shows a club thinking beyond just this single transfer window, building toward January and beyond. I also want to highlight something subtle in the Rodgers story that is easy to skip past. Arteta reportedly sees Rodgers as a long-term left-sided attacking option, not as a central creative player. That is a specific tactical decision, and it tells us the priority is replacing what Trossard offered from that flank, rather than simply adding another attacking body wherever one becomes available. That kind of precision in recruitment planning usually signals a club working from a clear tactical blueprint rather than reacting to circumstance. And that brings me to the Alvarez situation one more time, because I think it deserves a final word of clarity. Merino's comments were about admiration and quality, not about a transfer being close. The actual transfer substance is Alvarez wanting to leave Atletico Madrid, preferring Barcelona, and Atletico being reluctant to sell to a rival, which has opened the door to a reported swap proposal involving Arsenal and Victor Gyökeres. That proposal, again, is reported interest and a negotiating idea, not a signed deal. I want to be exact about that distinction, because it is very easy for a bold quote from a player like Merino to get mistaken for transfer confirmation, and that is not what happened here. So if you are trying to rank these stories by how close they actually are to becoming reality, here is how I would order them for you. Fully confirmed and complete, Ilan Meslier's signing. Strong internal confidence but unresolved with the selling club, Morgan Rodgers. Advanced interest but blocked by a released valuation, Julian Alvarez. Long-term development interest not yet actionable until October, Gilberto Moura. And pure fan speculation with no reported substance at all, Vinicius Jr. Keeping that hierarchy in your mind is the difference between reacting to noise and actually understanding what Arsenal are building this summer. So here is where everything stands right now. Arsenal have 10 players deep into World Cup quarter-final action, a completed goalkeeper signing in Ilan Meslier, a rebuilding attacking line built around the pursuit of Morgan Rodgers, ongoing interest circling around Julian Alvarez, and a pre-season that is going to start without most of the first team. Every piece of this connects. The rest period rules mean Arteta needs his squad depth ready early. The Rodgers pursuit explains why Trossard's Besiktas move makes sense. And Meslier's arrival explains why Setford is expected to move out on loan. Nothing here is happening in isolation. It is all one connected summer of decisions. If you want the next update the moment anything moves on Rodgers, Alvarez or any of these World Cup quarterfinals, make sure you are subscribed, because this story is only getting bigger from here.